After the war between immortals and demons, my sister's husband returned safely, but mine died on the battlefield. Everyone pitied me, but I knew. The one who returned was not my brother-in-law, it was my husband, Kang Shuwen. He and my brother-in-law were identical twins, and with their similar strengths, no one noticed a thing. Kang Shuwen explained to me, "Feng Yin, I'm doing this for the greater good. My brother is the crown prince of the dragon clan. If the clan knew their prince had fallen, it would surely cause internal strife. Besides, your sister is pure and kind. She couldn't bear the pain of losing a loved one. I'm just taking care of her in my brother's place for a while. Once the situation stabilizes, I will return to your side." I believed him, until Kang Shuwen framed me for colluding with the demons and had me executed by 1,000 cuts. As I watched him hold my sister intimately, I finally understood it was all his scheme. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day of the Dragon Clan's great victory, the day the terrible news of my husband's death arrived. Kang Shuwen held my sister, silent, as the clansmen cast sympathetic glances my way. Without hesitation, I chose to remarry. Kang Shuwen thought he could enjoy wealth and glory by impersonating the crown prince, but he didn't know that by abandoning me, he was forfeiting his only chance to become the supreme ruler of the Dragon Clan. Feng Yin Kang Shuwen, he died in battle. The agony of 1,000 cuts made my whole body tremble. When I opened my eyes again, those were the words I heard. The speaker was the Dragon King. He had only 2 sons. One was the crown prince, who married my sister. The other was my husband, Kang Shuwen. Now the Dragon King sat on the throne, gazing at the coffin before him, his face etched with grief. But I couldn't suppress my joy. I was reborn. Before I could speak, my sister's voice came from beside me. "Sister, I know you're grieving. If you want to cry, just let it out." My sister looked down at me. Though her face showed pity, her powdered cheeks were perfectly serene. I looked up, my gaze passing over her to the man at her side. No, that wasn't my brother-in-law. My brother-in-law was already lying in that coffin. The man before me was my husband, Kang Shuwen. The man who should have been holding me close was now holding my sister's hand, their fingers intertwined. Sensing my stare, he turned to look at me, his eyes feigning great surprise. I sneered inwardly. Kang Shuwen's acting was as superb as ever. In my last life, though I sensed something was wrong, it took me a long time to investigate before I dared to confirm that the man beside my sister was Kang Shuwen. But now I saw right through him. Just then, a wail echoed through the hall. My son, my son." The Dragon Queen threw herself onto the coffin, fat tears rolling down her cheeks. She then pointed a finger at me. "It was you, you jinx, you cursed my son to death." The Dragon Queen and I had never gotten along. She thought I wasn't demure or elegant enough for her son. I had once worried about this. Kang Shuwen had sworn to me, "If mother and you ever clash, I will always take your side, no matter what." Smack! The Dragon Queen slapped me hard across the face. Still not satisfied, she raised her hand to strike again. The Dragon King, forgetting his grief, immediately ordered the guards to intervene. Enough! The scene descended into chaos. From beginning to end, Kang Shuwen held my sister's hand, standing silently to the side. He even seemed worried that my sister might be frightened. He took a shimmering water spirit stone from his robes and presented it to her as if it were a treasure, coaxing her in a low voice. "Zioru, I prepared this especially for you." A bitter smile touched my lips. Phoenixes are creatures of fire, but I had always longed for a water spirit stone. In my last life, I had pleaded with Kang Shuwen to bring one back for me. He promised he would, but I never received it. So it wasn't that he hadn't found one. He just never intended to give it to me, even though my sister had no need for it. Even though he had once promised to always protect me, he now stood by and did nothing. Noticing my gaze, my sister shielded Kang Shuwen behind her, a hint of displeasure on her face. She reminded me, "Sister, why do you keep staring at my husband? Father-in-law is asking you a question." The Dragon King spoke wearily. "Feng Yin, according to tradition, when one spouse dies in battle, the other must observe 100 years of mourning. I won't force you, but I must ask, what are your plans?" I shook my head. "I choose the second path, I will remarry." The hall fell into a dead silence. Everyone stared at me in disbelief. Kang Shuwen was the first to speak. "Absurd! Feng Yin, how can you marry someone else?" This time, both the Dragon King and my sister sensed something was off. Though puzzled, the Dragon King said tactfully, "Kang Yi, this is your sister-in-law's personal affair. She should be the one to decide." Kang Shuwen was speechless, able only to glare at me. My sister was even more agitated than he was. She took a step forward, her eyes full of condemnation. Feng Yin, your husband has just died. His body is not yet cold, and instead of mourning him, you're clamoring to remarry. If word of this gets out, do you want people to think everyone from the Phoenix clan is as heartless as you? The Dragon Queen stared at me with venom. If Kang Shuan hadn't insisted on marrying you, I would never have let a viper like you into this family. I replied calmly. If Kang Shuan loved me so much when he was alive, he surely wouldn't want me to waste my life mourning him as a widow. I will remarry. Kang Shuan started anxiously. You. The Dragon King cut him off. Enough. Since Feng Yin has made up her mind, we will do as she says. However, the Dragon and Phoenix clans have an agreement. You may remarry, Feng Yin, but you must choose a man from my Dragon clan. I turned to the vast crowd and asked in a clear voice, is there anyone willing to marry me? No one stepped forward. Some who wanted to were pulled back by their families. Others met my gaze as if they'd seen a viper and quickly looked away. I felt a pang of helplessness. The heavens had given me only two paths, widowhood or remarriage. Could fate truly not be changed? Seeing this, Kang Shuan couldn't resist a taunt. Feng Yin, no one dares to marry a faithless woman like you. You'd best be a good widow. His tone was full of certainty, and it made me sick. Just then, a figure descended from the sky. I am willing. I looked closely and saw it was the Dragon clan's god of war, Long Zio. He had a fearsome reputation as a god of slaughter, yet now he was kneeling on one knee, speaking earnestly to the Dragon King. Your Majesty, I am willing to marry Feng Yin. Kang Shuan's temper flared instantly. Long Zio, what business is this of yours? Let me give you a friendly warning. My brother just died, and Feng Yin is already rushing to remarry. Do you dare bring a woman like that into your home? Aren't you afraid she'll curse you to death too? Long Zio stepped in front of me, frowning. Your Highness, Feng Yin is your sister-in-law. Instead of looking out for her, you're fabricating accusations against her. Kang Shuan was defiant. I'm speaking the truth. Long Zio ignored him and turned to me. Feng Yin, will you marry me? I will be loyal to you for all my lives and stay by your side. Let the heavenly Tao be my witness. If I break this vow, may my soul be utterly destroyed. My heart trembled. I saw only resolve in his eyes and couldn't help but nod. I will. With things settled, Kang Shuan had no reason to object further. Long Zio and I formed our marital bond on the spot. Seeing the matter concluded, the Dragon King waved a weary hand at me. Go. Then he announced to the crowd, I am old, and I have lost a son. I no longer have the strength to be the Dragon King. In 3 days, I will pass the throne to Kangye. Kangye was my brother-in-law's name, now usurped by Kang Shuan. I pondered this. In my last life, the Dragon King never passed the throne to him, not even by the time Kang Shuan had me killed. Why was it happening so much earlier this time? Before I could think further, as I was leaving, Kang Shuan passed by me with the crowd. I heard him say clearly, you bitch, you'll regret this sooner or later. That night, I moved from Kang Shuan's palace to Long Zio's domain. The servants gossiped amongst themselves. The god of war is great in every way, except for his poor judgment. The second prince's body isn't even cold, and Feng Yin couldn't wait to remarry. How could a woman like that be a good wife? Didn't the Dragon Queen say Feng Yin is a jinx who brings death to her husbands? I'm truly afraid for the god of war. I listened to the chatter outside my window with a half smile, then nudged Long Zio with my chin, mocking myself. The god of war's lifelong reputation is now ruined because of me. Long Zio frowned. Don't talk nonsense. Feng Yin, give me half a day. I'll make sure you never hear them speak ill of you behind your back again. I sighed. I don't really care. Compared to my last life, where I was a widow to a living man, suffered endless torment, and was finally executed by 1,000 cuts in public, this was a world of difference. The food, clothing, and lodging Long Zio provided were all of the highest quality, no less than that of the royal family. He made my life comfortable. I was already very content. Before the lights went out, I heard him mutter, a little damage to my reputation is nothing. As long as I could marry you, I'd do anything. I lay awake all night. Before long, my sister sent for me to come to the palace. She was about to become the next Dragon Queen. A handmaiden brought her the heavy, ornate ceremonial robes. She eagerly held the crown to her head, turning to ask me, Feng Yin, between me and this and the current queen, who do you think looks better? I remained silent. She continued on her own. You know, sometimes you just have to accept your fate. So what if you were more talented than me? In the end, I'm the one who will be Dragon Queen. She had been like that since we were children, always trying to one-up me. My gaze fell upon the cluttered table, suddenly fixing on the water spirit stone Kang Xuan had given her. A flash of insight struck me. When my sister was young, she was dragged into the sea by a water spirit during a training exercise. She despised water spirit stones more than anything. My brother-in-law was meticulous. He remembered that detail clearly. After a long moment, I asked in a strained voice, "Did you really not realize that wasn't my brother-in-law?" My sister's hand froze. In that instant, I knew the answer. In my past life, I had never once suspected my sister. In my eyes, even though we never got along, Kang Xuan was the perpetrator in this matter. But now, my sister's reaction told me she knew all along. Tears welled in my eyes. I couldn't stop myself from questioning her. "Feng Ru, are you insane?" Clatter. My sister slammed a phoenix hairpin onto the table in frustration. She turned to me. "So what if I am?" I was stunned. My sister sneered. "Let me be honest with you. As long as he is the crown prince, and as long as I can become the Dragon Queen, I don't care who my husband is." She then stared at me warily. "As for you, just be a good widow. If you behave, I won't treat you poorly when I'm queen. But if you dare speak of this, I will not spare you." A chill spread from the depths of my heart. Her words were identical to what Kang Xuan had told me in my past life. But in the end, neither of them spared me. Just then, voices came from outside the door. Kang Xuan, the Dragon King, and the Dragon Queen swept in. Seeing me, they all froze. Kang Xuan frowned, questioning me guiltily. "Feng Yin, what are you doing here?" The Dragon Queen spoke with sarcasm. "Shouldn't you be with your new husband? What are you doing in the Dragon Palace?" Feng Ru squeezed out 2 tears and nestled against Kang Xuan. "Feng Yin didn't mean any harm. She's just in so much pain from losing her husband, so she." Kang Xuan held her and said resentfully, "Feng Yin, none of us wanted to see my brother die on the battlefield. Not only did you refuse to mourn, you insisted on remarrying, and now you're taking your anger out on your sister. Get out." I stared at Kang Xuan and suddenly smiled. Fine. Retribution was coming. It was just a matter of time. The next day, Long Zio and I were invited to Kang Xuan's coronation. He was impersonating my brother-in-law, and the Dragon King had already recognized him as the next heir. Although he still needed the approval of the Dragon Clan's Heavenly Dao to complete the coronation and receive the inheritance of power, in everyone's eyes, including Kang Xuan's, it was already a done deal. Now, dressed in shimmering silver armor, he stood with the equally exquisitely dressed Feng Ru, greeting the guests with a radiant smile. I stared at his figure, unable to stop thinking about my past life. The Dragon King had once asked Kang Xuan if he felt any resentment that his twin, Kang Yi, was named Crown Prince. At the time, Kang Xuan had sworn, "My brother is righteous, kind, and more talented than I am. I am naturally convinced and have no complaints about him becoming the Crown Prince." His actions now were the complete opposite of his words then. I shook my head and smiled bitterly. Such a hypocrite, and yet I failed to see through him in my last life. Soon, Kang Xuan and Feng Ru walked over to us. He glanced at Long Zio beside me, a flash of jealousy in his eyes, and said deliberately, "Feng Yin, I know you still have feelings for Kang Xuan, but since you insisted on remarrying, you should try to live your life properly." Before I could speak, Long Zio said lightly, "You need not worry, Your Highness. Feng Yin treats me very well." A warmth spread through my heart. Looking at their smug smiles, I offered a reminder. "Kang, Your Highness, are you truly certain you can successfully receive the inheritance today?" Feng Ru immediately frowned. "What do you mean? Feng Yin, are you cursing us?" Kang Xuan stared at me with hatred. But with so many eyes watching, he simply held Feng Ru back and said gently, "Why bother with her? Let's go." I sighed, leaning against Long Zio, and said no more. The coronation began. Kang Xuan ascended the steps one by one and stood before the Dragon King, his eyes greedily fixed on the crown in the king's hands, a symbol of his new status. The Dragon Clan's high priest performed the ritual, crying out, "We beseech the Heavenly Dao to bestow its inheritance." Rumble. Heavenly lightning churned in the sky above. Just as the leader of the Phoenix Clan must undergo nirvana and rebirth, every Dragon King must endure a baptism by heavenly lightning. If approved by the Heavenly Dao, the Dragon King and Queen would be unharmed. Kang Xuan held Feng Ru's hand and stood in the center of the altar. Boom! The first bolt of lightning struck. I saw it clearly. The color drained from Kang Xuan and Feng Ru's faces. Then came the second bolt, and the third. Feng Ru violently spat out a mouthful of blood and collapsed to her knees, unable to rise. Kang Shuan's face turned deathly pale. The Dragon King and Queen shot to their feet in shock. The clansmen below began to murmur. The previous Dragon King didn't suffer like this when he received the inheritance. Could it be that the Crown Prince and Princess are not recognized by the heavenly Tao? There were 81 bolts in total. What should have been a blessing had now become a torture. By the 10th bolt, Kang Shuan had also fallen to his knees. In his panic, the Dragon King used his spiritual energy to create a barrier, barely shielding Kang Shuan and Feng Ru. But doing so rendered the coronation meaningless. The crowd below was silent. All eyes were on Kang Shuan and my sister, waiting for an explanation. Kang Shuan stood up from the ground and looked up at the Dragon King. "Father, perhaps something went wrong. I am willing to try again." The Dragon King looked hesitant. I sighed and spoke directly. "It's useless, stop struggling." How could a pair of imposters possibly receive the approval of the heavenly Tao? The hall was silent, my voice the only sound echoing through it. Long Zio looked down at me, surprised, but there was no doubt in his expression, only confusion. Kang Shuan glared at me, his eyes practically shooting fire, yet mixed with a flicker of guilt. Feng Ru wiped the blood from her lips. She cried as she accused me before the crowd. "It's Feng Yin. She must be jealous that I'm becoming the Dragon Queen, so she's deliberately slandering me." The Dragon King looked at me, his expression grave. "Feng Yin, I know you hold a grudge against them, but you should not speak so insolently today. Your sister Feng Ru is the crown princess, and Kang Yi is the prince I appointed. How could they be imposters?" The Dragon Queen erupted in fury. "Enough, why waste words on her? Kang Shuan married her, and he ended up dead on the battlefield. Now Kang Yi is receiving the inheritance, and because she's here, everything is going wrong. She's clearly a jinx, throw her out." The Dragon Queen ordered the guards to seize me. Long Zio stepped in front of me, his gaze sharp. "Who dares touch her?" I held Long Zio's hand and faced the Dragon King. "Your Majesty, do you remember the 2 conditions for receiving the throne's inheritance?" Though confused, the Dragon King still answered. "The Crown Prince must be the appointed heir of the Dragon clan, or the Crown Princess must be of the true royal bloodline. In truth, only one condition needs to be met to gain the Heavenly Tao's approval. It is only to ensure the purity of the bloodline that the Dragon and Phoenix clans typically satisfy both." Both their faces stiffened at the same time. Kang Shuan looked at the Dragon King in disbelief. "Father, why did you never tell me this?" The Dragon King's face darkened. "What do you mean I didn't? When you were appointed Crown Prince, I told you all the secrets of the Dragon clan. Kang Yi, you have always been so steady. How could you forget something so important?" Kang Shuan's eyes darted around in panic. I answered for him. "Dragon King, can't you see? This isn't Crown Prince Kang Yi at all. It's the second prince, Kang Shuan." The clan erupted in an uproar. The Dragon King's eyes widened. The Dragon Queen stood up, pointing at me and screaming, "Insolence! Feng Yin, how dare you spew such venom here? You've already killed one of my sons. Must you ruin the reputation of my other son as well?" I walked onto the altar, slowly approaching Kang Shuan, my face calm. He, however, looked as if he'd seen a ghost. Forgetting the collapsed Feng Ru beside him, he backed away repeatedly. He asked guiltily, What are you doing?" I sighed. 10 years ago, to save me, Kang Shuan's chest was corroded by a sea demon's tear, leaving a scar that nearly killed him. That scar is imprinted on his very soul. It cannot be removed by any means. It was because of this that I was deceived by him in my last life. After all, who could believe that the man who once willingly risked his life to save me would one day have me executed by 1,000 cuts? I reached out to open his robes, but he slapped my hand away. He kept his distance, not even allowing the worried Feng Ru to approach, and roared at me, "Feng Yin, are you mad? I am your brother-in-law." But the Dragon King had already realized something was wrong. Ignoring Kang Shuan's struggles, he ordered 2 of his trusted guards to pull open Kang Shuan's robes. Everyone stared, and a collective gasp went through the crowd. No matter how Kang Shuan tried to cover it, there on his chest was a teardrop-shaped scar, starkly visible against his pale skin. The truth was out. The Dragon Queen pointed at Kang Shuan, her lips moving for a long time before she clutched her chest, stumbled backward, and fainted. The Dragon King held back for a moment before he, too, was overcome, spitting out a mouthful of black blood. He fell to his knees, struggling to get up. "Your Majesty." The clansmen, led by the high priest, rushed forward to help him up. Seeing the truth revealed, Kang Shuan ignored his father and stared at me, asking in disbelief, "Feng Yin, how did you know?" Then he contradicted himself. "But that's not right. I covered my tracks so well, I eliminated everyone who knew." I bit my lip, suppressing the moisture in my eyes, and said softly, "How could I not recognize you? After all, you were my husband." Kang Shuan and I had known each other since childhood. Even the Dragon King used to joke that no one knew Kang Shuan better than I did. And because of that, I loved him with all my heart. No matter how well he hid it, the small details could never deceive me. With the truth revealed, the Dragon King was furious. "Kang Shuan, how could you impersonate your brother? He was your own flesh and blood." Kang Shuan roared, "So what? From the time we were young, you always praised my brother for his talent. But I am your son too. Why couldn't you see my efforts? Why couldn't you treat us equally?" After my brother died, I only chose to take his place for the stability of the Dragon clan. Aside from today, did any of you ever notice anything was wrong? Our powers are identical. Why did you choose him to be crown prince and not me? The high priest beside them couldn't listen anymore and answered for the Dragon King. "Second prince, the crown prince's power was far greater than yours. I presided over the spiritual power test back then. His Highness was the most gifted heir the Dragon clan has seen in 1,000 years. His appointment as crown prince was the will of the people." Kang Shuan was stunned. "I don't believe it. If his power was greater than mine, why didn't I ever sense it?" The high priest said helplessly, "His Highness was worried you would be discouraged, so he always suppressed his cultivation to the same level as yours. He would never release his full power, unless it was a matter of life and death. That is why it was so difficult for us to notice, even when you were impersonating him." I knew about this. When Kang Shuan was ambushed by the sea demon and fell unconscious, I was left heavily injured, trying to protect him and fight off the demon. It was then that my brother-in-law, Kang Yi, appeared. With a single move, he annihilated the demon. Kang Shuan had fought it for an hour and couldn't even scratch it. Afterward, Kang Shuan even complained to me, "If I hadn't been ambushed, how could I have lost to a mere sea demon?" I glanced at my brother-in-law beside him, but chose not to reveal the truth. I never expected that misunderstanding would haunt Kang Shuan to this day. He sat on the ground, utterly lost, muttering to himself, "So that's how it was. Brother, I wronged you." At the same time, the high priest was very confused. But logically, even if the second prince was impersonating the crown princess is of the true royal bloodline of the Phoenix clan. Even if the conditions weren't fully met, it shouldn't have reached the point of being punished by the heavenly Tao. The Dragon Queen is a descendant of the Flying Serpent clan, yet when she and the Dragon King received the inheritance, they were not punished. Unless, I looked at Feng Ru, who was trying her best to be invisible, and finished his sentence with a smile. "Unless the crown princess is not of the true royal bloodline of the Phoenix clan." "Feng Yin, you're slandering me." Feng Ru immediately retorted, her body trembling with a mixture of guilt and anger. "I am your sister. If I'm not of the royal bloodline, then what are you?" She glanced at Kang Shuan with hatred in her eyes. Then she crawled to the Dragon King, trying to defend herself. "Father-in-law, I knew nothing of Kang Shuan's impersonation of Kang Yi. If you must punish someone, punish him alone." Kang Shuan looked up in disbelief. I sneered inwardly. In my last life, I only learned just before my death that Kang Shuan was secretly in love with Feng Ru. He thought she was gentle and magnanimous, and after seeing her just twice at a palace banquet, he was utterly infatuated. After taking his brother's identity, he showered her with countless treasures, wanting to place the world in her hands. To think that the woman he yearned for would abandon him, without a second, thought the moment trouble arose. The Dragon King, battered by one blow after another, managed to prop himself up and looked down at me. "Feng Yin, Feng Ru is your full sister. How can you say she's an imposter?" I shook my head. "We share a father but not a mother. When my mother gave birth to me, her health failed, and she passed away soon after. By the time I was old enough to remember, Feng Ru was already my sister. My father taught me to listen to her, so even when she made things difficult for me, I chose to endure and be patient. Until my last life, during my forced widowhood, I once accidentally stumbled upon Feng Ru paying respects at an ancestral tablet. She said, 'For all these years, Father has had me registered under Feng Wang's mother's name and never gave you a proper title. When I become the Dragon Queen, I will announce to the world that you are my true mother.' Unfortunately, before I could reveal this truth, I was executed by Kang Shuan. I looked at Feng Ru. Your mother had a secret affair with our father, but father, deeming her of low birth, concealed the truth and married my mother, the queen. Later, after my mother died from childbirth complications, father brought you back to the Phoenix clan, claiming my mother had given birth to twins. The Phoenix clan is a matriarchal society. The legitimacy of one's bloodline is determined by the mother. Feng-ru, your mother was a pheasant spirit. You do not possess the true royal blood of the Phoenix clan. Before Feng-ru could answer, Kang Shuan lunged at her, his hands tight around her neck. The Dragon King ordered the guards to stop him. Kang Shuan was laughing and crying. So, all my meticulous planning was for nothing. Feng-ru, you bitch, you dared to lie to me. Feng-ru, not to be outdone, sneered. And you're any better, Kang Shuan. Feng Yin is the one with the true royal blood, but you abandoned her completely to impersonate the crown prince. You're the real fool. Feng-ru's words reminded Kang Shuan. He kicked Feng-ru aside, ignoring her cries of pain, and knelt at my feet. Kang Shuan's face was full of regret. Feng Yin, I had my reasons. I planned to ascend the throne, stabilize the situation, and then reveal the truth to everyone and return to your side. I never expected Feng-ru to be an imposter. Feng Yin, I was wrong, I was truly wrong. Please come back to me, won't you? If you come back to me, I'll do anything you ask. I leaned down with great interest. Really? Kang Shuan nodded eagerly. But I knew very well that for impersonating the crown prince, he would likely be stripped of his title and cast out as a commoner according to Dragon Clan law. But the clan could not be without a king. If he could get me back to his side, he could gain the Heavenly Tao's approval and inherit the throne. But why should I grant him his wish? In the face of his expectant gaze, I said, word by word, I want you to die. Kang Shuan's face changed. I touched my still beating heart, remembering the torment of my past life, and said sincerely, if possible, I hope you suffer death by 1,000 cuts. Kang Shuan cursed, Feng Yin, you bitch. Long Zio stepped forward, shielding me. He covered my ears and whispered to me with a private transmission, Feng Yin, let's go. The Dragon Clan fell into internal turmoil. The crown prince was dead, and the second prince was an imposter, causing the clansmen to question the royal family's authority. Some demanded the second prince be executed immediately, while others argued that as the only remaining royal descendant, he must be allowed to live. But none of this turmoil concerned me. I was lying in bed, my foot pressed against Long Zio's chest, pushing him away as I panted slightly. No more, really, no more. He was too vigorous. I had barely been out of bed all day. But Long Zio was relentless. He whispered in my ear, Feng Yin, who is better, me or Kang Shuan? I paused, finally understanding. Since returning from the coronation, Long Zio hadn't asked how I knew the truth or cared about the clan's chaos. He had just been single-mindedly, working hard. Could he be jealous? Seeing my silence, he tightened his arm around my waist, looking dejected. So you still can't forget Kang Shuan? I nodded, yes, I can't forget him. Long Zio's eyes immediately filled with hurt. The great and valiant god of War of the Dragon clan released his hold on me and said softly, is it because I don't treat you well enough? I stopped teasing him and burst out laughing. Long Zio looked at me, confused. I pinched his cheek and said helplessly, come on, whoever forgets their mortal enemy. I did have feelings for Kang Shuan, but that was in the past. Now I just wish he were dead. Only then did Long Zio's eyes slowly brighten. But then I changed the subject. But I don't understand. Back then, when I asked for a husband in front of everyone, why did you step forward? Long Zio's face flushed red to the tips of his ears. He hesitantly told me a story from his past. The god of war wasn't always the god of war. And though Long Zio had some royal blood, his parents died early, and he was never given much importance. To survive and to prove himself, he started as a common soldier. 300 years ago, in a battle against foreign invaders, Long Zio was ambushed. All the other troops had retreated. Long Zio thought he was going to die, his head hanging low as he waited to become dinner for the demons. Until a small head popped out. Huh, you're from the Dragon Clan, how did you get captured here? Don't be afraid, I'll take you home. Long Zio said softly, Feng Yin, I fell for you right then and there. But after you brought me back to the Dragon Clan, I learned from the other soldiers that you were a princess of the Phoenix clan and already engaged to Kang Shuan. I thought to myself, who am I, Long Zio, to even dream? But I couldn't stand being a nobody, so I fought hard on the battlefield and eventually became the god of war. That way, when you saw me, even if you had no feelings for me, you would at least remember me as the Dragon Clan's god of war. not just some nameless stranger. Later, when you lost your husband and asked for a new one in public, I didn't step forward immediately because I was stunned, as if a pie had just fallen from the sky and hit me on the head. As for what happened after, you already know. I was both exasperated and amused. I gently caressed his face, my heart, which had been tossed about for 2 lifetimes, finally finding peace. Kang Xuan had discarded me like a worn-out shoe, while Long Zio treasured me like a priceless gem. I murmured, "You fool." We were entwined together tirelessly, for how many days I don't know, until a servant's announcement came from outside. Long Zio carefully draped my clothes over me, covering the amorous marks, before letting the servant in. The servant looked at me hesitantly. The visitor is the crown princess. Feng Ru was blocking the entrance. Her identity as an imposter had been exposed, and on the day I left, the Dragon Queen had driven her from the palace. Word quickly reached the Phoenix clan. The father who had always protected her had long since passed away from illness. The current leader of the Phoenix clan was her father's nephew. He had been bullied by Feng Ru in his youth. Upon hearing the news, he had only one thing to say. Our Phoenix clan has only one princess, Feng Yin. With nowhere to go, Feng Ru had shamelessly camped outside my palace gates. Seeing me, her eyes lit up. "Sister." I calmly corrected her. "You're mistaken. I am not your sister." Tears streamed down Feng Ru's face as she clutched the hem of my dress. "I was wrong, sister. I was truly wrong. I didn't mean to steal your man. I just wanted to be the Dragon Queen so badly. I didn't want to be looked down upon or have my identity questioned anymore. I asked in return, so you had to sacrifice me." Feng Ru's sobs stopped short. I explained to her, "Feng Ru, I gave you 2 chances. The first time, I questioned you in private, but you turned it around and slandered me, getting me thrown out. The second time, before the coronation began, I warned you, but you said I was cursing you. I have done all I could." As Feng Ru cried, blood suddenly trickled from the corner of her mouth. I frowned. "Are you trying to frame me?" Feng Ru smiled bitterly. "After you left, Kang Xuan went mad and ripped out my inner core. The Dragon Queen then had her men beat me." Her breathing grew faint. With her last breath, she whispered, "If only I hadn't been so greedy." I ordered my people to give her a proper burial. Unexpectedly, that very night, the Dragon King issued 12 consecutive edicts, ordering Long Zio to the front lines for reinforcements. The demons had invaded again. 3 days prior, the Dragon Clan had sacrificed their crown prince in the Great War, only to gain less than 10 days of peace. The clan was terrified. No one but Long Zio could boost their morale. I waited with a sense of dread and drifted into a restless sleep. When I opened my eyes, I saw Kang Xuan's face. Kang Xuan and I were standing on the Dragon Clan's altar. We were alone, with only the howling wind whipping my hair, sending a shiver through me. Kang Xuan's expression was savage. Beside him lay the Dragon King's crown and the High Priest's scepter. Clearly, he was fully prepared. "Feng Yin." Kang Xuan called my name in a low voice. I didn't want to acknowledge him, pretending I hadn't heard. But Kang Xuan gripped my hand tightly, like a drowning man clutching a life-saving straw, staring at me intently. "Feng Yin, look at me. I've lured them all away. No one will come to stop me now." I looked at him helplessly and asked, "Are you sure you want to bypass the Dragon King and receive the Heavenly Tao's inheritance without the blessing of the people?" Kang Xuan laughed maniacally. "That's right. I may not be the crown prince, but you possess the true royal blood of the Phoenix clan. So what if I don't have the clan's approval? Once I become the Dragon King, it will be a done deal. With the demon invasion and my father being old and weak, they will have no choice but to rely on me. In the end, all those commoners who claim to be unconvinced will have no choice but to kneel at my feet and respectfully call me their king." I was bound by an immortal binding rope, unable to struggle. I could only shake my head. "You're insane." Kang Xuan had completely descended into madness. He only heard what he wanted to hear, deliberately ignoring my words. Soon he began the ritual, mimicking the high priest's actions. Heavenly lightning began to gather. Boom! This time, Kang Xuan was full of confidence. He placed the crown on his own head, donned the majestic armor, and held my hand as he stood in the center of the altar, looking up at the sky. He swore to me, "Once I become the Dragon King, Feng Yin, you will be my Dragon Queen." The next moment, a bolt of lightning struck. Cracked! Kang Xuan and I were unharmed. A wild joy filled Kang Xuan's eyes, and he squeezed my hand even tighter. "It really works." Several more bolts fell, and still, Kang Xuan was safe. He grew more and more frenzied, muttering, "Brother, I've finally beaten you. while also cursing, "Fengru, you bitch." The final bolt of lightning was about to descend. The others arrived late. The Dragon King was heartbroken. "You unfilial son." The Dragon Queen cried out, "Kang Shuan, how could you do something so foolish?" The Dragon clansmen murmured amongst themselves. "We captured a few demons on the front lines." Under interrogation, they said the invasion was a joint effort between the Demon Lord and the Second Prince. Countless died in the war, yet the Second Prince sacrificed the lives of his soldiers for his own selfish desires. Is this man truly to become our king? Kang Shuan didn't care. "This is all for the sake of my empire. What are a few sacrifices if it means I can become king?" I said nothing, my eyes meeting Long Zio's across the crowd. There was no doubt in his gaze, only heartache for me. I looked away from him and turned to Kang Shuan, saying softly, "But I am not willing." Kang Shuan didn't hear clearly. "What?" I repeated, "But I am not willing for you to become the Dragon King." The 81st bolt of lightning suddenly became ferocious, striking Kang Shuan with majestic force. With that single strike, he fell to the ground rigid. The heavenly Tao was displeased. With one bolt, it had severed all of his spiritual roots. His soul began to dissipate. In his final moments, he looked at me in disbelief. "Feng Yin, why would you do this to me? After 1,000 years together, don't you love me anymore?" I shook my head. "I stopped loving you long ago. When he gave that water spirit stone to my sister, when he chose power over me, when he had me executed by 1,000 cuts. My love had long since vanished with the wind." I leaned down and whispered in his ear, "I can't wait for you to die." Kang Shuan dissipated completely. The Dragon Queen, having lost her second son, fainted on the spot. The Dragon King looked at me with a complex expression, resentment, grief, and helplessness. But in the end, he picked up the crown from the ground, wiped off the dust, and said sorrowfully, "Of my 2 sons, one died in battle, and the other was struck down by lightning for his wickedness. I no longer have the face to continue as Dragon King. Now, the only one in the Dragon clan qualified to inherit the throne is Long Zio. To prevent any further complications, I will pass the throne to you tomorrow." Long Zio turned to look at me. He knew I had always loved freedom and disliked being bound by rules. But looking at the despair on the faces of his clansmen, he knew they would soon fall apart without a king to serve as their spiritual pillar. I nodded at him. Long Zio then answered solemnly, "I accept." 2,000 years later, Long Zio passed the throne to a carefully chosen successor. Not long after, we both broke through to the next realm and were on the verge of ascending to a higher plane. But we both chose to give it up. In a boundless sea of flowers, Long Zio carefully carried me on his back and asked dotingly, "My love, where shall we go next?" I looked ahead eagerly. "Anywhere is fine, as long as I'm with you."